Well, I am Ton Coenen. I came in contact with AIDS Action Europe actually right at the start. In 2004, AIDS Fonds was very much involved in creating AIDS Action Europe. And I was also there from right that beginning, also because we offered then to host the secretariat within the organization. And that's when I came in. I think from that point, also in connection to some of the initiatives we took, like the Civil Society Forum together with the EATG and later on the HIV in Europe initiative. I think for both initiatives, I was the first co-chair on behalf of AIDS Action Europe. A lot of memories there. I think there was a great need. When you look at 2004, this is a little bit of context on what happened in Europe, because then we had 10 countries that came into the EU. So there was a great need to actually have a much stronger connection within all of Europe. And I think that was there, that feeling was there from the beginning. There was a strong activist network, EATG, and this was more the network for the organizations. Some of them were connected, but not all of them. And I think that push and that energy to really make that happen has been very strong from the beginning. So I think that is my strongest memory, actually, at least the strongest urgency to also get this going. And then, of course, lots of challenges, but also the opportunities to really make it bigger have been, and to really influence what was going on in Europe. That has been, I think, the greatest asset of AIDS Action Europe throughout the years. One moment I remember extremely well was a meeting we had it was in 2004 in Vilnius. And it was a meeting of country representatives. I think there were some ministers, but it was mainly top civil servants, where it was also a bit of the beginning of these days and also the first time network. And I got the opportunity to speak in plenary, and we had and it was very well prepared and also in coordination with EATG on positions around HIV, of course, but also on people using drugs, and very outspoken. And I remember very well that right after that intervention, I got almost harassed by a few people from government from a few countries. And then I actually thought, well, this was the first time in a very concrete way where you could see they obviously felt, well, either threatened or pushed or by civil society. And then I really learned how powerful that could be. So I think, to me, the big lesson has been by getting involved within AIDS Action Europe, but also by speaking out and daring to speak out. It actually is a way to influence, and it actually has also taught me a lot on, well, how to best do that, or depending on the context where we are, but also to feel the energy of the connection with other civil society representatives and activists to really go out there and do it. Martina was already working for the organization, for AIDS Fonds, before she started within AIDS Action Europe, and I was actually the person who also was in conversation with her before she stepped into that role. And so I've been very much involved with Martina since day one, even before AIDS Action Europe was there. I think her strength was, of course, her total dedication to the network, and it was the network, but primarily it was all the people involved. And last week I saw a movie that her son made of her, which was really a very touching movie on Martina and what motivated her in life and as a mother, but also partly in her work. And I think that full dedication to the human rights of people who are in a situation where these rights are often not respected, I think that has been a main driver for Martina to do the work. And I remember that one time when we went to Kiev for a meeting of the steering committee of AIDS Action Europe, and then there was an ash cloud in Iceland, and we had to stay for a longer period in Kiev. I think then you could also see how Martina, in her link to civil society throughout Europe, basically also was able to make connections because we were looking for alternative routes. And I think it was in a very practical way also making connections in the work that we do that was really her strength. Because I think within the HIV field, there's often a lot of policy talk. And I think what Martina did very well is make it more concrete and making the connections with everyone involved. Well, for me, I think the big inspiration in this field is the combination between health and human rights. And I think within HIV and AIDS, that has always been a strong driver. And when AIDS Action Europe started, that was very much also the agenda that we were looking at. Because when we look at Europe, definitely at that time, but I think that's still the case, HIV was very strongly connected to the key populations, and human rights were so strongly related to the work that we were doing. And that also was the connection with the international movement. So I think that has been my main driver in this work. When I look at the role of AIDS Action Europe in these early years, I think in itself, creating a network of AIDS NGOs was important. I think it was important to connect the NGOs and to also create facilities where there would be exchange of experience and people could get connected. So I think that was an important step. And because AIDS Action Europe was also part of the ICASO family. It was the European branch, basically, of the global ICASO network that also made an easy connection to the rest of the world. So I think that in itself had an important value. But what I've also seen is that AIDS Action Europe, when we started the Civil Society Forum, which was an informal network, but it actually advised the countries who were represented in a think tank, the European countries, on the policy at European level, then we really became powerful. And the same happened when we created the HIV in Europe initiative, which was focused very much on testing, and which is still continuing. So I think AIDS Action Europe as a network itself is important, but even more important when we brought it together with the strengths of other civil society movements like EITG. And from there, we could really push policy agendas. So I think that is where I see the most important value. And what I've seen, bigger distance now, is that is actually still going on. Well, I think 20 years of AIDS Action Europe, of course, is a huge reason to celebrate. And in looking at the achievements in the past 20 years, but also I think that is very important, some of the shifts that have been made throughout the years in broadening the network, broadening the scope, because HIV now is different from what it was 20 years, and HIV is so much connected to other topics, not only human rights, but also other health issues. So my wish is also for the next 20 years to make sure, because HIV and the pandemic will not be over, and certainly not within the present political climate, that AIDS Action Europe is capable of making connections with other fields and areas so that HIV remains relevant, and also that we keep the fight for HIV on the agenda of Europe. So I think that is what I basically really hope for, and I hope that there's going to be a lot of work and energy in that. En in het Nederlands zou ik echt iedereen echt heel erg willen bedanken voor de fantastische tijd in AIDS Action Europe, maar ook heel veel succes willen wensen in de komende jaren om dit werk voor te zetten en om die fight echt gewoon naar een nieuw niveau te brengen. Heel veel succes.